Hey everybody, I'm Michael DiTullo. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a little bit of a different topic. Normally I'm showing you my sketch process or a little bit of a behind the scenes on the development process. Today we're going to be talking about tariffs and specifically how they affect industrial designers like me and probably like you if you're watching this video, but also how those tariffs may affect end consumers and users as well. So let's jump into it. Here's 3 ways I think tariffs are going to impact our work as designers short term, as well as some long-term thoughts. Okay, so obviously I'm not an MBA, I'm not the CEO of a company, but if you follow me, you probably know I've worked for some pretty large companies over the past, let's say, 30 years. And if you don't know, welcome to look up my LinkedIn. You can see my full resume there. And I've got a ton of experience working with companies that manufacture both overseas as well as in the United States. And I was the chief design officer of a $700 million consumer electronics corporation. So everything I'm going to be talking about tariffs is through that lens. And as an industrial designer overseeing projects that went to production, all the way from the earliest notion of what the product could be down to approving tooling, I was going through bills of materials with engineers and developers, looking at dollars and cents on every little part that got put into the end product, from the electronics that might be in something to the packaging that went around it. So everything I'm going to be talking to you is from that perspective. So as I said, there's 3 main ways I think this is going to impact us in the short term. The first, probably most obvious way, is this is going to really cut into R&D budgets. So the products that are in development, the products that are in production right now, there's no easy way to move that manufacturing from one country to another. It's physically very difficult, if there even is the manufacturing capacity in the United States, which in most cases there just isn't. It would take 5, 6, 7 years and millions of dollars to build that capacity. So the first thing that most companies are probably going to do is try to cut down on the R&D budget itself, meaning probably be less new products in the foreseeable future, as most of the company's brain power goes from innovation over into cost. If you're an industrial designer working for a company or a consultant, my advice to you here is to really focus on kind of being valuable, and then just understanding that a lot of your time and effort is probably going to shift from kind of early stage innovation to implementation. So crazy conceptual renderings maybe not as valuable right now as being able to clearly communicate and work with vendors. This is something that you see in my process behind me. You see a lot of early stage concept sketching, and you'll see renderings from me. But what you don't see is work like this, where there's tons of red lines on engineering drawings and clear communications back and forth with manufacturers. And I mentioned that this is going to impact whether the manufacturing is happening here or overseas, because a lot of the raw materials for things that are made here, those raw materials sometimes are coming from overseas. So that again is just going to impact that work. The second way I think this is going to impact us as industrial designers is that products that are in development, products you might be working on right now, will probably be either canceled or delayed, or the price will be changed. I've been talking with a lot of design executives over the last few weeks, both on client side and then just colleagues that I've worked with over the last 30 years. And they've just been relaying all these stories of dealing with these. In one case, there was a soft goods manufacturer, and they had product on a boat from China, right? It's like a 4-week boat journey. And while the product was in transit, the tariffs changed twice. And so to clear that product through customs, the company had to cut an additional check. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars just to get the product through the port and customs. And I want to make clear that it's not like the contract manufacturer is not eating that price. People don't understand that most manufacturing is contract manufacturing. In other words, it's like a vendor that makes something. Even if you get a car from an American car company, let's say like General Motors. General Motors might not make the window switch in that car. They might not make the door handle. They might not make the seat. All those different components come from different manufacturers, and they might be in totally different locations. And then that final product, in the case of General Motors, might be assembled in Mexico. In the case of Hyundai, that final product might be assembled in Georgia, ironically. So it's a very global supply chain for a lot of these things. And then so basically at the point of entry to the United States, that tariff, that tax is being paid to the government. And the company's not going to just eat that price. I mean, they might decide to right now to keep the price the same, but over time, right, they're going to have to essentially raise the price. When I was working in-house, we would always be talking about the landed cost, right? So there's how much the product costs to make, then how much and how much the packaging costs to make on top of that, how much it costs to transport those from wherever that is, if it's across an ocean or across a few states, and then what's the landed cost once it gets into the company's warehouse, what's the cost of the product, right? And so the tariff is happening before that. You get the landed cost, and then you multiply that to get to your wholesale price. So that eventually get passed down. But in the short term, what I think is going to happen is a lot of products will be canceled or at least delayed while companies figure out how to tackle these things. The third biggest change is I think a lot of the budget that's left in research and development is going to shift from innovation and building more competitive products, building more interesting products that are usable, and it's going to shift over to cost cutting. And that's just because, again, these tariffs are going to increase basically the landed cost of the product, right? So a company's going to look, if we want to try to keep the product about the same price or only raise the price a little bit, what can we take out of it to keep that product the right price? And what do I mean by that? Well, let's just take this. This is Hydro Flask video, not sponsored by Hydro Flask here. It just happened to be something on my desk as an example. But let's say this is a pretty high quality product, but let's say there's a tariff on it that's now 10%. And so basically the company is like, how can we take 10% cost out of this product? Well, this product has really nice metal hinges. Maybe these metal hinges go away, these metal fasteners, and those just go to plastic, right? It could be cheaper. Maybe all these logo hits go away to save money. Maybe this lid, which has a really nice gasket and a turning part, maybe that goes to a cheaper lid that doesn't have a turning part, or this plastic gets cheaper, not as thick of a material, not as durable. And so, yeah, the price stays the same or close to the same, but the product you might get as an end user might be worse. And it's going to take a lot of our time as designers to work on that and figure that out. And we're going to be working on that instead of figuring out how to make a better flask itself. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. So, and you could say, well, isn't this all just going to move, all because of these tariffs? Is this going to move to the United States? Is the manufacturing going to move? In some cases it will. I have some clients that do manufacture in the United States, but again, a lot of their components might come from overseas. I worked on a luggage startup years ago, and their goal was to manufacture everything in the United States, and we basically determined it was just not possible. All the telescoping handles came from Asia, all the wheels came from Asia, the textiles, the technical textiles came from Asia. The manufacturing capability didn't exist in the United States to do those things, and you would need like 8 years and $500 million. And then by the time you did that, the price of your bag would be insane because you'd be trying to make up all that $500 million or you could just make it in another country that had all that and ship it over here. And so I think what I'm already seeing people talking about, companies are talking about, okay, how do we control costs? Which, that could be reducing U.S. based staff to basically pay for the tariffs. So those are three kind of short-term ways I think it's going to impact us. It's going to reduce R&D budgets. Products that are in development could be canceled or delayed, or the prices could radically change. And I think our work as industrial designers will focus more on cost cutting and trying to figure out how to make things more economically. Long term, what is this going to do to us, right? Both as designers and as end users. I think it's always hard to predict what's going to happen long term, but I always think it's always a guide to look at history. And one of the longest running kind of tariffs that has really impacted the product selection in the United States is called the chicken tax. You can Google this, Google chicken tax. There's a great Wikipedia entry on it. I believe it started in the 60s because there was a tariff on like American chickens in Europe, and to retaliate, the United States put a tariff on light duty trucks. And that tariff on light duty trucks still exists. And it's the reason why the American light duty truck market, you might know as pickup trucks, it's why American pickup trucks are such an oddity in the world. If you look at any other nation in the world, they don't have these humongous pickup trucks that we have in the United States, and that's because our market is totally isolated. It's completely protected by a tariff wall, and because of that, our product mix has totally mutated away from what the rest of the world has in a way that's kind of become like, let's say like suboptimal. To be generous, I think my feeling is they've become somewhat comical. And so my fear is that long term, we could become a very provincial market where there's only basically lower quality goods that aren't competitive in other markets around. And that hurts end users, right? Because all of our products that we get less options that are less good but cost more. And then as designers, that's what we'll be working on. And that's not the most exciting thing. Hopefully things will change, but just some thoughts so that you can all prepare for it. All right, everybody. Next time, we'll probably get back to some sketching or for some fun stuff. But I hope this was useful. And again, just a little bit based on my knowledge of the last 30 years in design. Good luck, everyone.